Lesson plan on defense. Communities all across the country are trying to figure out how to prevent and respond to school shootings.
Now school districts are considering the possibility of arming their teachers and staff in case the unimaginable happens in their hometown. News 9's Jessica Haberly has this special assignment.
Superintendents I've talked to say the firearms will always be concealed on a staff member's body, but many question whether they will be properly trained and wonder what could go wrong inside the classroom. To learn more, we went straight to the shooting range for an up-close look at training.
I'm going to touch and drive the gun out in my line of sight.
Out of school and into a different kind of class. This Coshocton County shooting range is where teachers, administrators, and even cafeteria workers or custodians learn how to handle a firearm on school grounds. Targets are in place for the 16 people embarking on this particular Faster Saves Lives training.
There's going to be firearms in the schools. We want the people with them to have access to the best training that we know of.
Faster Saves Lives is a safety and emergency response course designed for schools. It's run through donations and some state funds, so up to 5 people from every district can train for free. Additional staff costs $1,500 apiece. Joe Eaton is the program director.
And there are so many innocent people in the schools that an errant shot is just not permissible in a school environment. And that's something we drive home really hard to the schools throughout all the training.
It starts with the basics, like trying a grip on a ruler. In 2 hours, the participants went from practicing with a ruler to firing live rounds, and they're expected to get in 300 shots before the end of the session.
That was a good shot.
And this is just the primer. A full 3-day course will follow. Requirements for passing are more difficult than those for law enforcement. The handgun qualification for the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy requires officers to take 25 shots. They can miss 5 and still pass. At Faster Saves Lives, they add on 3 additional shooting while moving shots, but staff can only miss 2 overall. However, additional training is not required by law. Ohio school staff need only a CCW permit and permission from their school board to carry at school. When it comes to arming staff, some say Jeff Staggs wrote the playbook. He's the superintendent for New Comerstown Exempted School District. Staff there has been armed for the past 5 years.
After the Sandy Hook tragedy, I had parents come to me and ask if we could start a safety committee.
To date, no staff member has used his firearm on school grounds. The district requires frequent background checks, drug tests, and training.
Having someone there directly responsible and who can act before law enforcement arrives, obviously is going to save children's lives.
Staff members at Indian Valley, Coshocton, and Riverview are also armed. Other districts have recently taken up the issue. In February, East Guernsey local schools approved the arming of staff. Edison local voted in favor of the measure just last month. Both districts plan to have staff trained and armed at the beginning of the upcoming school year.
I think, for us to put a weapon on somebody is scary, but you can never say it's never going to happen to us because that's not realistic.
The district now has an armed school resource officer in each of its buildings, but Superintendent Bill Beatty explained it's not enough.
Are you able to say how many staff members will be armed in each school?
I don't know that. As many as possible we would like. I think the more you have, the better.
Beatty told me participation would be voluntary, but discussions with unions would determine if they're compensated for the hours spent training. They'll be required to shoot so many rounds per month, go through yearly certifications, and pass a psychological exam.
Will you be armed during the school day?
I've not made that decision at this point. I think we'll just have to kind of wait and see how the process goes through.
Senator Frank Hoagland, who represents Ohio's District 30, wants to see uniform training requirements.
You got to be a sniper with a pistol, or it might be a sniper with a long gun. I don't know.
He's also concerned about what would happen if a teacher were forced to shoot.
I think it would be pretty tough to find an individual that is a teacher that's worked with those kids for as long as they've worked with those kids to stick a gun in their hands and ask them to go shoot their own kids.
Congressman Bill Johnson, who represents Ohio's 6th congressional district, told me it's important to empower local officials to make decisions about school safety because they're closest to the problem. But there's no one closer than the students.
I guarantee you, in most cases, students and teachers know who the students are in a school that have the capability and the mental instability to carry out a school shooting or other violence at school. I think engaging students in the process is a very important part of the solution.
With students in mind, districts are hardening their stance on safety by refusing to let their schools be soft targets. And though it's not clear how effective the measure will be or how well the armed staff would perform in an emergency, it's a test no one wants them to actually take.
Superintendents told me not only will the firearms be concealed, but also the identities of those carrying them. Many are reluctant to give more specifics, afraid of jeopardizing anyone's safety. And they are all adamant that this is just one of many safety measures. With this special assignment, I'm Jessica Haberly for News 9.